Skip it up and that up. So some articles and people are claiming that the PS5 and Xbox Series X will hit a graphical dead end. And I kind of agree with it, but kind of don't. Let's get into it. Do you have one of these? Do you have a Switch Lite or do you have a regular Switch? Then you should get a Satisfy gaming grip. They're a sponsor of this channel and I absolutely love their products. They make the Switch Lite and Switch really ergonomic. I use the grip on my Switch Lite especially all the time, and they also have awesome cases that you could store all of your accessories in, down to the power supply and everything else, all of your games. And there's also a link below in the description. If you use the code ReviewTech10, you'll get 10% off your entire order. I can't recommend these grips enough, and thank you to Satisfy for sponsoring these videos. Now, I have touted since I started hearing the rumors and it's been officially confirmed what's going to be inside of the next-gen consoles. They're going to have the Zen 2 AMD architecture, which is what the 3000 series processors are based on from AMD. It's going to have Navi graphics. They're both the PS5 and Xbox Series X are going to have hardware ray tracing acceleration. That it's going to be a fairly monstrous leap from current gen consoles. I mean, the Jaguar cores inside of the PS4 and Xbox One are complete garbage. They were from day one, and they kind of held the 8th generation back. Yes, we saw significant visual upgrades, especially towards the second half of the 8th generation, but not really anything with artificial intelligence or destructible environments, because the Jaguar cores inside of those AMD CPUs in the 8th gen consoles are crap and couldn't handle it. So it's basically like it was the 7th generation with a prettier coat of paint. Well, in the 9th generation, that's going to be a big thing that changes, and that's going to be what differentiates the PS5 and Xbox Series X. But I do also think we're going to see noticeable graphical upgrades as well. But according to CCN.com, and they're not the only ones saying this, we're not going to see that big of an upgrade. And it's a fairly short article. I'm going to read it to you, then we will discuss and I'll give you my take on it. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are going to be with us soon. That means a whole new bunch of games and an increase in how good our games look. At least that's usually what it means. While we're sure to see a whole bunch of new games, a developer, that's the developer behind the game Sword of Necromancer, warned to expect less of an update to graphics. As we approach photorealism, it seems more and more likely that consoles are going to hit a graphical brick wall. Back in the early days of gaming, graphical improvements were massive. The jump from PS1 to the PS2 was staggering, possibly even more so from the PS2 to PS3. The graphical jump from the 7th generation of consoles, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, etc., to the 8th generation consoles was much smaller. Sure, games looked better, but it was nothing compared to the leaps we saw before. Part of the reason for this is that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One have near photorealistic graphics and textures. There really isn't much room to move when it comes to graphical power. While the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X might not look better graphically, they will. That doesn't mean things in general won't improve. And then they go on to talk about how the next-gen consoles will have better AI, better loading times due to the solid-state drives, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not completely on board with this article from CCN. And again, they're not the only ones saying this. There is going to be a significant jump in hardware when it comes to next generation. Like I said, the processors inside, I have an Xbox One X here, and the PS4 and even the PS4 Pro and the base Xbox One, and we might as well just include all the 8th gen consoles, was very anemic. And we were already hitting the limitations of the 8th gen consoles right when they came out. I always use the same beaten to death example that I've used, but it's a perfect one, where we had games like Battlefield 4 not even running at 1080p in 2013. 2013 on the base PS4 and Xbox One. The PS4 hit 900p. The base Xbox One hit 720p with that game. And it wasn't impressive. I felt like the consoles were super limited out of the gate. While with this upcoming generation, they're going to be really powerful. It's going to be next to impossible to build a gaming PC with the specs these next-gen consoles are going to have at their price points. They're going to probably, I mean, I'm hearing it's going to be $500 for both consoles, around $500. the graphics card alone to equal the performance of the Series X and PS5 is going to cost you about $500, if not more. So I don't even think it's possible to build a PC for the price point of next-gen consoles. So you're going to see differences. They're also going to have the baked-in ray tracing hardware on the next-gen systems for both Sony and Microsoft. So there is going to be graphical differences. Now, yes, it's going to be a smaller leap. There is some truth to that. But they said going from the PS2 to PS3 was an even bigger leap. I disagree with that. I think going from the PS1 to the PS2 was a much more noticeable leap than it was going from the PS2 to PS3. If you think about it, games like Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2 actually could output at HD, and the original Xbox could output a decent amount of games at HD resolutions. Now, obviously, there's more things to that. We had, better lighting and other things that happened in the 7th gen consoles. And yeah, that was the HD era where we had HDMI output, and the 360 eventually got HDMI output as well. But I don't think the jump was as big I think the jump was bigger from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 than it was the PS2 to PS3. And same with, well, there was no Xbox before the original Xbox, but you get my point. Same with the N64, you can say, to the GameCube for Nintendo. I thought that was a more significant leap than, well, obviously it was from the GameCube to the Wii, since the Wii technically was a GameCube with a more overclocked processor to handle some of the different operating system things that needed to be done and make games run slightly smoother. You do realize that the Wii was supposed to be an add-on for the GameCube. Fun little fact there. So I get what they're saying, but I don't. Yes, we're going to see smaller improvements with each generation, but to say that it's going to be a dead end where you're not going to notice a difference, yeah, they bring up the Order 1886, how photorealistic that was, and they're right, it was pretty damn photorealistic, but I still think games can look better. I mean, we can't even get games on the PS4 Pro to run at native 4K. A lot of times they have to use checkerboard rendering, and games still look better on PC. So as long as games continue to still look better on PC, there's still room for improvement on consoles, and games don't actually truly look photorealistic yet. When you still look at characters, their faces still look somewhat mannequin-like. We've come a long way. There is more facial expressions and more realism, but it's not... I don't think we've yet hit that uncanny valley. I don't think we're there yet where your brain kind of gets messed up looking. There is some examples we saw where super high-end tech is hitting the uncanny valley, but we haven't in games yet, mostly. So I think there's still a ways to go, and I think that CCN and other people saying that we hit a graphics dead end aren't looking at the whole picture. I think we still have more hardware horsepower we can utilize and make games look even better than they do on current gen consoles and current PCs. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey, if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a Review Tech USA member. I'll have a link below in the description. I live stream now on this channel all the time, and it gives you access to cool emoticons to use as well while I live stream. Again, link below in the description. Thank you for your continued support.